You have your fear, which might become reality. And you have Godzilla, which is reality.
I'm sick of Godzilla.
Wake up, everyone!
There are two things you don't know about the Earth. One is me, and the other is Godzilla.
We're safe now. No human being can understand that. The monsters on Monster Island can understand it.
Whether he returns or not, or is never again seen by human eyes, the things he has taught us remain.
On Monster Island. Monster Island.
I say there are things better left unsolved. Who knows what waits for us in nature's no man's land? Impossible? Unbelievable? Fantastic? But I tell you it could happen. I'm Jacob Walsh, and I'm here with my radioactive isotope co-host, Jay Key, and we are talking about the Beast! The Beast! The Beast! The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms.
Holy
Jay.
moly! Can we end the podcast now?
Jay.
We're not. We hit the top. It's done.
Listen, I don't know about you, but
Yes.
when I was a child, I watched this movie all the time, and I think I might have mentioned it before, but I owned a VHS, which I bought a new version of. That's nothing but trailers for movies, and it's trailers for monster movies, and this trailer is on it, and that's the trailer. That is the trailer, and I used to go around as a kid saying those things, and people are like, "What are you fucking doing?" And for some reason, as an almost 40-year-old, I can distinctly remember what they say in the trailer for The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, but I can't remember like important shit. Jay, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, and I'm assuming after you impressed your friends with that, then you just started going Guanji
All the time. Dude, I rewatched Valley of Guanji the other day, or maybe a week or two, and there are certain things in that trailer too. That trailer starts off with the guy going, "Ladies and gentlemen!"
Yeah.
I love those old.
Yeah.
These movies are awesome, and we're gonna talk all about The Beast from 20,000.
I'm really pumped, dude. I'm really
I am
pumped.
too.
And then if I'm curious, as we get into that discussion, after we go through all the other stuff, I'm curious if we'll look back and say, do we wish that this episode, this release would have come out right after our How Do We Define Kaiju episode back last year? Because I think there could be some connectivity when we talk about The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms as, does it have a rightful claim to be the first kaiju movie? And a lot of people will be like, absolutely not. It's this or that. But maybe it does, depending on your criteria. So I'm excited to get into that on top of just talking about the movie itself.
We're gonna get into it.
Yeah.
We're gonna get into all.
Are we gonna get
and
into it? Like,
no, I don't think so. I think
I
we're
don't think so
probably mainly on the same page.
I have a
about
feeling
most
on
of
this
it.
one. Yeah, this is not going to be one of those like Jay loves it, Jake hates it, or the other way around. I have a feeling we'll probably be pretty in sync on this one.
Yeah, probably. It's great. Jay, I don't know what your pickups are like. Let's do our pickups first.
Cool.
What do you got?
Oh man, I have a couple good ones. But the first one I want to say, you have this, and it's not a toy, but I know we're not toy specific here, but it is something that you picked up at San Diego Comic-Con from our good friend of the podcast, one of the greatest kaiju artists out there, Tom Whalen. I got one of the Godzilla Tower pins. I got the red one, and I picked this one because it looks really good next to this. I love it.
Wow.
This was really cool. So I got a couple good things. I got, let's see, 4. Well, technically 5, but one's a set. First, so it was on this show when I got one of my favorite Sofubi pieces that exist. It was that Monster Heaven Varan. It was like red and blue. It's a very unique colorway. It's still in my favorite Sofubi cube in my Detolf here, like the ones that has like some of my favorite stuff. So But Monster Heaven also had other really cool colorways of that same sculpt, and I love the Marmit Monster Heaven Varan. So I got one of my other favorite colorways, and it's this awesome chocolate brown, this mocha, if you will, with blue and gold. Look at this guy. I absolutely love this guy. This
looks like a guy you just unwrapped it on Easter.
I know, right?
You're gonna eat it.
It's not a chocolate with some metallic blue wrapper, a foil wrapper.
Yes.
But the Monster Heaven sculpt for Varan is the best. It really is. I love it. I absolutely adore this. And this colorway is so cool, so unique. You don't see the browns and blues a lot on really anything. And I think Marmits, especially that early 2000s Marmit, they did some really cool stuff with the colorways. And this is one of my favorites. So I was really excited to pick this guy up, to put him next to the other guy. Just, building out I'm army building Marmit Varans now. Apparently.
Somebody's the one person in the world has to, and it's you.
I know, right? The other thing is I got my first, I think my first Sophobie representation, maybe. Well, no, I do have one little tiny plastic representation. I was thinking maybe my only representation of this kaiju. And he's our official mascot of YHS on Monster Island. Everybody's least favorite, the most useless kaiju of all time, Manda. I got the Atragon version of Manda because it comes with the Mu Empress.
Oh, dude, that's cool.
So, look at that. So
that's
cool.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's better. That's the coolest thing Manda's ever done, has been that toy.
It really is. But look at this. She's awesome. One of those great Toho heroines. Not heroines, I guess. Villains. But she. So it was funny. I recently was picking up some really cool kaiju books and magazines and mooks and all that good stuff. And I picked up when Godzilla X Mechagodzilla came out in 2002. They released, because obviously Lieutenant Akane Yashiro was the main character and big female powerful lead, and they did the Toho heroine memorial album, and it was all these just like full page shots of all the women that have been in Toho films, and she's featured in there. She's actually on the back cover, I believe. Was awesome. The Mu Empress. She's awesome. But that book or magazine is amazing. So I got two other things. And these are both like big ones. I don't know which one to go first, but I'm going to go to, I think this might be an early favorite for Sophobie of the year. And if not this piece, then the company is definitely up for Sophobie Toy Maker of the Year. And that's Saru Jirushi. And I got their best sculpt in 1962, the painted 1962 King Goji.
Oh my God.
Look at him there. I mean, he's
beautiful. That's a big toy too. It's big. That's bigger than I've seen this figure, but I don't think I've ever seen somebody holding it.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, this is your standard 9-inch Sophobie, and so he's a good 2 or 3 inches taller.
Love that. I love the colors on this guy.
And
he looks a lot like the 62 looks, especially in Sophobie form, he looks very alligator-ish to me.
Yeah. 100%. I know in Collect All Monsters, the sculptor of this is a member of Collect All Monsters, and he was talking about the who painted it and the inspirations and stuff, and everybody's throwing out these older vintage pieces that he might have inspired, and I threw out, this is totally animated Dino Riders T-Rex, man.
Oh, it is.
That's what
it is.
Like, so cool.
I love that toy.
And then the last one is interesting because I did as Toku Toy Town, I did a Pop Shop Live. When we're recording this, it would have been last night. So it would have been on Tuesday. And it was a big one. I did a lot of Wonderfest exclusives. I had a lot of DNA of Tokusatsu exclusives. And I also just a lot of really cool, rare Sophobie pieces. And one piece that I thought would be the first thing to go because it's one of the coolest pieces ever. I don't own it. I even put it in one of the ads that I did, hyping up the show. And it didn't sell. And I was like, holy cow. And I'm like, that's a sign. I have to keep this. And I'm keeping it, damn it. I'm keeping it. And that's from M1, my first Biollante BioGoji 2-pack, the ones that came together.
What? This did not sell?
No.
Dude, I think these, oh my God. I own these figures, not these colorways, but that Godzilla is maybe the best colorway of that Godzilla that I've seen.
Yeah. It's this beautiful, like metallic purple, and you have the blue in there, and then obviously the gold in the chest. And then this gal is gorgeous from the front. Looks straight,
dude.
but look at this from the side. I mean, this is like
It's got that
red, purple,
same
and gold.
purple that's on
Mhm.
Godzilla.
Yep, that's the connective tissue there because hey, cellularly there's a connection there, right? So made from Godzilla, so you have to have that connection point. So I'm keeping it. Got a whole square right over there ready for it. And I'm surprised I don't do that more often. But those are I did keep that one, and I'm very happy that I did. But that's it. I mean, that's all my pickups, but I love them all. I love them all.
They're beautiful. And that Godzilla, that specific M1 Godzilla there, that was one of my first actual Sofubi pieces. I didn't buy those two together as a set. I bought that Godzilla. I don't remember where I found him. I'm not even sure if my Biollante and Godzilla are the pairing. They might be. I'd have to pull them out, and we'd have to maybe look at them and do some research because I didn't buy them together.
Okay.
But I love those. Those are two of the best.
Yeah, the purple and red.
I'm so glad you're keeping that. I'm glad you're keeping that.
Yeah, and you know what? My Marusan 450 Nishikawa exhibit exclusive Biollante is getting lonely, so I needed to put some more 89 stuff in that one. So I'm really excited, man. But I love the Manda. I love the Varan. I love the Saru Jirushi 62. It's awesome.
That guy's cool.
And then I really like. I'm very happy that I'm keeping these.
Those are all very solid pickups.
Thank you. How about you?
I only got one thing. Slow week for me. Still paying off a Kraken. I got the Monster Arts Jet Jaguar from Singular Point. This guy's awesome. He's got the big. This is a little heavy for him to hold. There are a couple poses you can put him in where he can't hold it. I had him kind of just pose like this, where he's got his arm on his thing. Mm-hmm. But he has a stand. He came with extra hands. He has the little chair that fits on his back with with a little human character, tiny stuff that I'm probably going to lose. But then he also has this. The helicopter, the plane, the helicopter that goes on. But he's very, very posable. You can do all kinds of cool stuff with him. I love these, and it makes me want the other Singular Point figures. I didn't buy them. I had to have Jet at least. So, but that's all. That's the only one I got.
Yeah, I'm putting a little bit of like a time a barrier or so on this. If there's not a more kind of classic Sofubi representation of the Singular Point figures in the next 8 months, I think I'm just going to go ahead and get that guy. After I saw your images and stuff you posted on Instagram, I got so jealous, and I was like, I need that. And then, of course, I love the Rodan and the Godzilla Ultima that they did. And I was like, if I even just those three, I think I'd be really happy. Yeah. And I don't own any Monster Art stuff. I could put those together, kind of display them together. I think it'd be really fun.
They look like they were just pulled out of the anime. They look perfect. They're perfect looking. I love them. And I want to get the Godzilla now. I feel like I need him. I did see the the cheap Bandai ones that are in Target, and they have the which Godzilla is it? The one where he's I can't remember if it's the second Shin, but second or third form from
the Terrestris.
Yeah, I saw that, and I did not buy it. But I almost did because it does look cool.
Yeah.
I had to talk myself out of it kind of because it's you know what?
Where are you going to put it?
Where am I going to put it? And I'm trying to back away from, I don't want to use the word cheap and say I don't want to buy the cheap stuff, but I want to move away from that kind of Bandai stuff and try to spend my energy on Sofubi really right now. Sofubi and X Plus. So I didn't buy it. But it looks But it looks good. It's a good looking toy, and I don't own any other than this. This is all I got from Singular Point. Really, is this? I think I have one other. No, that's it. This is all I got.
I think you have the Jet Bandai movie monster series, right? The first one they released.
Yes, I have that, which I got from you. Thank you. But those are the only two. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, and hey, there's nothing wrong with any of the. I mean, those are toys for kids to play with, and Sofubi and X Plus they aren't. So it's totally different thing, right? It's you don't need to collect that, not because you're better than it, but because it's not the right. It doesn't fit with everything else that you're collecting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm glad it exists. I'm glad that some little kid's going to look at that and be like, what is that? And then go down a rabbit hole that hopefully takes them to Singular Point and everything. And we have another dedicated kaiju fan on our hands.
You're right.
I'm excited it exists.
Dude, I don't know if you saw, well, you probably did. I think we probably talked about it on Toy Anxiety. But I guess, is it Hasbro that's coming out with the starting lineup? They're coming out with like a new version of starting, and they showed off that they're coming out with a basketball hoop with a stand.
Yes.
And I so badly want to find a Godzilla figure that will fit, that will kind of scale with it. Put him in the stand in that old Charles Barkley pose. That'd be so cool. I don't know if that's possible, but we're gonna see.
Maybe
it would have to be a small figure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know if would like NECA ones be too big?
They might be,
because they have good posability, and
they might be about right. I'm not sure.
I mean, the tail's always going to be a problem. You can make some goggles, some rec specs for him, like you did.
Yeah. Get like the 89 or something, because I think that's like what the Heisei is what they used basically. Yeah,
that'd be cool.
We'll see when it comes out if it's possible.
And then we can say Jake bought some starting lineup.
the first and last.
I love starting lineup, but it'll
toy.
be I know. That's awesome though. Yeah, I did see you guys talk about that, and I was like, that's genius. That's a genius idea. Yes.
I do have a little Ultraman toy where he's playing soccer. So I'm into sports.
Yeah, sports band. Oh,
I don't
100%.
know. I don't know what the deal with that toy is. I found it somewhere. It's Ultraman, and he's got a soccer ball, and he's wearing a soccer jersey. And I was like, I'm buying this. It's like a little figure. I was like, all right.
I love it, dude. No, I don't know. I'm sure. I know they had some other like Ultraman soccer games, and I've seen the commercials and stuff from back there, those vintage games. But I don't know. I'm sure they did a whole line of Ultraman sports. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a reason. I don't know. I think we got a little bit of news to talk about.
Yeah. I think the big like non-toy news, and you actually sent this to me the other day when it broke, was the Kong Disney Plus news.
Yeah. This is a little confusing to me, but it's also the most exciting to me because I read, so there were a couple things that they went ahead and said that it's going to be set, it's contemporary, so it's going to be set like now, but it is the story of like the classic story of King Kong. You'll learn about his origin, kind of it will start on Skull Island, just like, the Kong we know. I'm assuming it has nothing to do with the other Kong projects and the MonsterVerse. That's what's weird to me. The fact that Disney Plus is going to be able to be making a Kong thing while there's also a Kong Netflix show and while there's also a MonsterVerse, which I guess Kong might not even be in the MonsterVerse show. If the MonsterVerse show takes place, I guess it's possible he might not even be in that, huh?
Yeah, my gut is that he would be in the
but there's the movie. Yeah, but they said the movie
Kong or whatever. Yeah,
sure. So yeah, that's just weird to me that there's a lot of projects. I don't know what the rights are like with Kong. I don't know if it's just kind of fair game and anybody can make whatever they want. I don't know. But it sounds cool. The idea sounds cool. They said it's going to be like a serialized show. I like that. And they also said it's going to be partially based off of some books. Some like Kong novels, and I was like, "What Kong novels?" And I looked it up, and there's like in 2004 or something like that. This guy, and let me see if I still have him pulled up. Joe DeVito wrote a bunch of King Kong books, and I looked them up on eBay, and they have amazing artwork. Like
that's
they
awesome.
are. I'm gonna have to get these. Kong, King of Skull Island, and there's multiples. King Kong of Skull Island, The Wall. There's like a bunch of different ones. And the artwork's all great. So I guess they're going to be kind of working off of those a little bit. I don't know, but
that's awesome. I mean, two things on that. Number one, I'm excited for Jacob Walsh versus Stephen King to move over to Jacob Walsh versus Joe DeVito. And then second, I wonder if but if Kong isn't in the Apple Plus MonsterVerse series, and that's just Godzilla and the other, legendary Titans, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if there's a form, like you've seen this in Godzilla and stuff as well, like by format, right? So you have Legendaries doing the movie with Kong, Son of Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong 2, whatever the hell it is. There's the Netflix animated, and this is kind of even though it's not connected from a storyline standpoint, maybe the rights for Kong for a TV adaptation, a streaming adaptation, a serialized adaptation is something different. I think like the toy industry, right? Where it's like you can have the Ninja Turtles license for adult collectibles versus kids toys versus creative toys versus educational, whatever. I'm curious if there's something like that allows it to sneak in there and do something with that property. Different continuity, obviously, but because the format's different than what Legendary is doing with Kong specifically. I don't know. Yeah,
it could be. No matter what, I don't care. I just want all of it. So I've always
get it.
I like King Kong, and I'm kind of, even though I don't want to get into all the Kong versus Godzilla stuff, but I am kind of excited to kind of see Kong on his own again.
Yeah. No stress. Not as much stress.
No stress. I don't have to worry about them fighting or being friends. Just let Kong be the only one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like it. I dig it. No, I'm right there with you. It'll be cool. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm glad they're doing something with Kong as opposed to insert any other type of license or property that has nothing to do with kaiju and monsters and all that good stuff. So it's a positive. Even if it's not good, it's probably better than, or I'll still probably watch it and love it.
It's still going to have King Kong in it.
Exactly. Yeah. And
I don't think I've ever watched anything that had King Kong in it where I was like, well, hate this. I think I've always, even the stuff that's kind of bad, like King Kong Lives, I still love it. You know what I mean? It's hard. And I think, it's probably, I don't know if the original will ever be topped. I think Peter Jackson's King Kong is great. I loved it. I don't know. I guess we should just do a King Kong episode.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny we did King Kong Lives, and we talked. Obviously it was the episode that we did them separately.
Yeah.
And obviously we talked a little bit just naturally about 76 because you just kind of have to.
Right, but I mean, there's so much other. Yeah,
and Godzilla versus Kong, obviously.
There's the original Son of Kong, which I watched. I feel like not that long ago. I probably talked about it on here when I watched it, but that movie's pretty good too.
And hell, we haven't done King Kong versus Godzilla, and it's the 60th anniversary of it.
Oh, well, maybe next episode. Maybe
and then
in 2
King
weeks
Kong
from now
Escapes.
We'll do that.
I feel like we could talk about King Kong Escapes for like 9 episodes because it's amazing. But no, I'm excited. It's hey, I did not expect to wake up and hear that news. So it was positive.
Same. You got some screen grabs over there.
Yeah.
Some news.
Yeah, there's a lot of little collectible news, like something small here, but I thought there was a couple that were really cool. The first one, I'm going to share, and let me pull up here. I'm gonna share. So this is something that both of us I know we love what they're doing at Mondo with Biollante, and they dropped the Midnight Bloom variant. Was that on Thursday? I mean, excuse me, on
Tuesday?
Yeah.
Tuesday.
I think it was, yeah. So very excited for this. I think this is a very cool colorway. And this one was, I believe, a run of 200. And the Cherry Blossom, I think, was 400. Or maybe I got those back mixed up. But anyway, did you end up picking this one up?
Well, I tried. And it was sold out. I saw this in person at Comic-Con, and they also had the Cherry Blossom and the regular Biollante, and I said, you know what, this blue one's the one I want. I did buy the Cherry Blossom one, and I forgot about this the day it dropped. You reminded me. I was at work, and then after you reminded me, I got home, got online to buy it, and it was sold out. I missed it.
Oh no, man! Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's all right. That's okay.
Oh man, Mondo giveth and Mondo taketh away, I guess. But it's I was able to pick it. I wasn't going to get this, and I did because I had this. Once I saw the pictures, and I had like a total fear of missing out, and I went and bought it.
Yeah.
But
I was surprised with how big, seeing this Biollante sculpt in person at Comic-Con. It's a very big toy, and they all look good.
Yeah.
All of them look good. You know, the Jet Jaguar, I've kind of picked and choose, but the Biollante, I kind of want them all.
Oh, that's awesome. So yeah, so this was kind of a big news. I think Mondo kind of dropping that. And then let's see what else here we have. Oh yeah, so this is very cool. So Marusan is doing the like what they're calling like the soft vinyl summer Festa, and it's they're doing a couple exclusives for that. And I'm going to show the first one was the one that got all the attention, and rightfully so. 350 line. Look at this, glow in the dark, pink Mothra. They nailed it, man.
I love the curve. I love the curve of the wings. It's this is a great sculpt.
Yes, and we don't get a ton of Mothra Sophie compared to, like, if you kind of correlate it to her importance in the whole landscape of kaiju, it's probably underrepresented, right? So
for sure.
And I know wings make it difficult. I get it. Display ability is always hard with Mothra unless you have stands and everything. But I'm excited for this to hit the stores and the secondhand markets and everything. I love it. I think they nailed it. This was just awesome.
Yeah, I agree. And I love the color, the kind of turquoise color of the eyes.
Yeah.
Really, pull it together. I love it. It's great.
Yeah. And then staying with that pink theme in the same event, same Marusan, same one. And this one obviously is important to me because got to get another Biogoji. The 350 line is expanding. And there we go. That pink. Yeah, it's almost like clay or Play-Doh looking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Smoothie maybe. I don't know. A little bit of everything. So I dig it. I love it. I'm going to get it. I have a whole row of nothing but pink variants. So this will be great. And since the last time we showed off one, there's only been like one new, like net new release. They've re-released a few other ones, like the green and gold sparkle one. They re-released a couple of the other glitters. They're releasing a platinum sparkle glitter. I did pick that one up. It hasn't arrived yet. And then it was a Godzilla store exclusive. And then this guy's coming out. So I will be picking him up as well. Hopefully I can find him. So kind of excited about that.
Dude, we got to get it.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a good run of luck so far, so hopefully we'll keep it up. So I thought Marusan killed it. I'm excited to see what else comes out of this soft vinyl summer Festa. I don't know. It's an event. I don't know if it's a Marusan branded event or it's like something that's every year, like Wonderfest or Superfest or DNA of Tokusatsu or Treasure Festa Online. I don't know. So we'll see. But I thought those were pretty awesome. And then the other bit of toy news that I thought was worth sharing, and I know you put in your name or put your name in the hat and put your entry in, but it was the latest lottery from our friends over at Medicom. Look at this. This is the the skeleton, the 54 final Godzilla. This Enraku and Saku sculpt, non-glow in the dark, was such a just fan favorite that I was excited to see that they did a little bit of variant, and of course everybody loves glow in the dark.
Yeah.
So I didn't know I was cutting his head off here. Sorry about that. But it's I love this. This is awesome. So I did put my name in there as well. So hopefully I'll win my second lottery ever. And you can maybe win your first.
Yeah, I've never even tried to do a lottery before, but this is a cool toy and I want it, so I jumped right in.
Yeah, and in Raku and Saku, obviously, their stuff's great. It's wonderful.
I've been circling in Raku for a while. I've been looking. You've put a couple on your site here and there, and I'm like, you kind of had to talk some sense into me because at one point I was like, I think I'm either going to get this in Raku or I'm going to get this Night Raid Glitter Gigan, and you were like, dude, come on, and I'm like, okay, right, get the Gigan. I'll get that later. But, yeah, I like their sculpts. I like how big and chunky and kind of short-armed and silly they look. I love it.
Yeah. And just to help you feel better about that decision, still haven't seen another Night Raid Gigan event. Nope. I would buy them because people still want them because they are awesome. Well,
I think it's like top 3 favorite toy that I own. So I'm definitely happy I bought that one.
I've had 3. You have one, I have one, and then a friend of the podcast, Collect All Monsters contributor, Show a Down Spectacular contributor Jonathan Portman has the other one. So those are the 3 that I know that I've seen.
Let's form a club.
And then
that's cool.
The last thing I'll let you do because I feel like you are a little bit more of the cavity colors expert, but I know they just had a big drop as well, and I'll pull this up for you.
Yeah, their Destroyer stuff came out, and I'll be honest, I didn't buy any of this. I do like it. I think the one with the big Destroyer face looks
Yes.
like and I'm sure it on purpose kind of looks like a death metal shirt.
It does.
I also sort of like the weird sun bleached Godzilla head. If that Godzilla head was just on a black shirt that wasn't a long sleeve,
yeah,
I maybe would have bought it. But yeah, I'm glad they're keeping this up. I'm glad they're still in the game. This round I did pass on, but yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I passed as well. I almost jumped on the light blue one. I felt something about it was like, I don't know, almost like Garbage Pail Kids style. Like it looked almost like it was a card with the backing and the bright and the blue. So I'm the same way. I've been a little hit or miss. I love the Gigan, the Godzilla versus Gigan releases. That was one of my favorite. And then the ones that had, what did they do? Was it Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla, or was that all part of the general Showa one? That one was great. I think it was a Mechagodzilla. There was some cool stuff there. But I don't know what they're doing next. I would love to see something like Godzilla's Revenge, something a little bit more like wacky and whimsical and silly, or Megalon or something.
Megalon would be cool. They're kind of jumping all over the place. They're not like going in an order. So yeah, we'll see. Well, and I'm sure like there hasn't been super long times in between the releases, so it probably won't be long before we know what the next one's going to be.
Yeah, I agree. I hope they just do something a little bit out of left field. Like maybe it's Godzilla raids again. I mean, something like just totally wacky.
I hope it's not that one. But,
oh come on, man! I would
be cool with the like Son of Godzilla. I'd buy a Son of Godzilla shirt. I want a shirt with Godzilla and Minya hugging in the snow at the end of that film, like getting covered. That I would buy that.
Yes. My son has a Minya shirt. Yeah, my son has a Minya shirt. Yes, I think you could never have too many Minya shirts. So, yes, I agree. Come on, Cavity Colors.
They're getting there. Is that it for the news?
That's all I got for the news. Everything else is kind of like I said. I don't know if it was newsworthy.
Sure, it's little stuff. There's other stuff going on, but little stuff. Yeah. Let's talk about this movie, Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. This is a movie. I know we've kind of been talking about Harryhausen a lot recently because I've been getting back into watching some of these movies. But when I was a child, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house, and my grandpa watched all these movies, and I remember watching The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms like a lot as a kid. And I watched a lot of the Harryhausen stuff, but this movie was up there with Gwanji for me. I used to watch it all the time, and it was really fun. I haven't watched it in a while. It's been a good while since I've put it on, and dude, it's great. It is great. I love the way it starts, which I didn't know until today that the Arctic, like the sets, they're in. So the movie starts. They're in an Arctic facility. They're doing experiments. They're gonna,
Jake. Operation Experiment.
Which
is my favorite.
The set that they're on is the same set that they used in the original The Thing.
Oh, that's awesome! I didn't know that.
And it's one of the same actors too.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. Jay, what do you think of this movie? Like, what's your like? You got a history with this movie, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody that loved dinosaurs and monsters and Harryhausen and all of the above has some history with it, right? I definitely watched it many times. I don't know if I would say I had a VHS that I wore out with it. I would say from a Harryhausen creature world, like I think I probably was more into like the Sinbads and the Greek mythology ones, maybe more than this one, and not like saying one was better than the other. That's just what I watched more, right? We always talk about sometimes what we watched more had more to do with availability and whatever. But I always remember that I loved the creature. I thought it was one of the coolest monsters. I was like always like imagining, I want the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms against Gigan, or I want to, I always is one of those that was always in that pantheon of badass monsters that you want to fight each other, right? But fast forward to high school, and so I'm like I guess like a sophomore, junior in high school, and me and another buddy who, I think every kid, goes through there. I love indie films. I'm a, whatever. And I love art films. And so I was, that typical 17-year-old that thought that for, a few days. And so we started a little like lunchtime, like, I don't know if you want to call it, it wasn't indie film. It was like art films. And we got one of the teachers to sponsor us. And so we would go in their room and like, over like a week, we would watch kind of a movie, right? We'd have like 30 minutes or whatever and talk about it. And I remember on our pitch, me and this guy who is so awesome. I remember his name. His name was Callaway Ryan. His name was like backwards, right?
Yeah.
Really cool dude. Went to like the Savannah School of Arts, brilliant artistic dude. And now I think he's like a brew master in San Diego or somewhere. Great dude.
Okay.
Anyway, so we made our pitch and I forgot what movie he pitched on like why it'd be fun to talk about its relevance. And I think he pitched maybe Akira Kurosawa's Dreams or maybe one of those. Anyway, I pitched Beast of 20,000 Fathoms as an important cinematic piece and the tie-ins with Ra Bradbury, which, we can touch on later, and just how the importance to film and the discussions around, radioactivity and all that and using a kaiju or a monster at the time to view that. And that was my pitch. So I had a later connection to Beast of 20,000 Fathoms and we of course watched it and I do appreciate it from that realm. So I don't know if I've seen it in totality since then. Like I really don't. Like it's one that's like, I know it's there. I feel good that it's there. But I always appreciated it as a kid for the monster and for the reasons a kid appreciates it. And even as a high school punk, I appreciated it, and I tried to sell it as maybe giving it maybe too much credit, but maybe not. But I really thought it was, even then I thought it was an important film. So that's my history with it, and I still to this day think it is a just great piece of cinema, and I'm so glad it exists. And you could argue a lot of these things that we talk about in this podcast wouldn't exist if it wasn't there, if it didn't happen. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, it is an important movie because it came out in, I think, 53 before Godzilla. And I know Ray Harryhausen kind of was annoyed when Godzilla came out and he thought it was a ripoff. I think he was like bitter that Godzilla became popular. And meanwhile, he made like 5 movies or something like that. But the stop motion in this movie is great. It's definitely responsible. It's definitely responsible for like the big boom of like radiation monsters, them and all those other movies that came out after that. But dude, when I was rewatching it tonight, when they're in the art, I was like, I wish somebody would remake all of these movies. Like, I wish all of these Harryhausen films would get good not like the Clash of the Titans that came out. I mean, I want like people who know what they're doing to remake these movies, because that whole thing in the Arctic, like just a monster, a kaiju or a dinosaur, whatever you want to call it, in the middle of a hurricane or a blizzard, in the middle of a blizzard, being like, you can't really see it, but it's there. That's scary. Yeah. And there's a shot in the movie, and I think it's basically the first time you get a good view of it. The guy's, in his parka or whatever, and he looks up and it's just there and it's snowing and it's kind of looking around, and that shot is beautiful. Like it's such a cool. This movie's great, man. And I guess we can go through the plot really quickly. We just do it quick. So basically, it's kind of like all of the movies from that time. They're doing a test. There's an explosion. They wake up a monster. The monster comes to New York and it eats a lot of people. It steps on people, and then we kill it. And that's kind of the plot of the movie. And it's the plot of all of these movies. We take Kong out of his land where he's been fine by himself forever, and then we fucking kill it because that's all we do. That's the plot. That's the loose plot of this movie. There is an interesting. There's a scene maybe half an hour into this movie where one of the characters who encountered the beast towards the beginning is being shown a bunch of like dinosaur drawings, and they're like, hey, what did it look like? Is it this one? Is this one? Those drawings were by Charles Knight, who if you've ever been to the Field Museum in Chicago, is full of original paintings by that man. And anybody who's like a big dinosaur fan would recognize that guy's work. Like, I remember his artwork, the actual paintings that are hanging in the Field Museum. I have seen those paintings like in every dinosaur book I've ever bought almost. You know, when I was a kid, you grow up looking at his artwork.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I looked it up because I hadn't seen this movie in a long time. And I'm watching it, and as soon as that artwork popped up, I'm like, "That's Charles Knight artwork." I was like, I could tell. I was like, that has to be Charles Knight. And I looked it up, and he apparently like died the year this movie was released.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I love that. I mean, having lived in Chicago and being a Field Museum member, like it's one of the best parts. And I would say that little touch there of adding at the time, 1953. Accurate, right, depictions or accepted depictions of dinosaurs at the time by somebody that you could go out there in the wild, so to speak, and see these. I think that adds to everything from the opening of the film throughout the end. It treats this topic in this movie seriously. Like the opening dialogues, and with the narrator and like all the H-hour. I mean, it's all like there's not this is going to be a goofy monster movie.
It's not played silly.
No.
It's not.
It's not.
You see people get eat. It's more of like it's a 1953 horror film.
Yeah, and it really is. And I think they do a really good job. And they add, I think the dialogue, though, of course, at times, I think us looking back at it, 70 years later, we say, okay, some of the dialogue might have been a little heavy-fisted or on the money when they're like, only time will tell. But like, that was a new concept to talk about the horrors of what radioactivity and atomic bombs and all that stuff would lead to. So like contemporarily, that was amazing. And even though I think the dialogue holds up, like I said, even though, like I said, sometimes it's a little on the nose, but I absolutely love everything is played so great and so serious. And like, it just helps you get kind of enveloped in the story. And and also like when you mentioned that scene with the blizzard, and first off, the Rhedosaurus is just beautifully done, and it's awesome. But it is so cool to see a big monster moving around. It's not just breaking out of it's not Gamera just breaking out of the ice, or it's not Godzilla breaking out of the ice. Like just that whole scene, I think still holds up, and it's great. Yeah, and it's wonderful, and I absolutely just adore that aspect of the film.
This movie reminds me of Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's got the same. It's got the same sort of tone. Well, it's got the same kind of tone. I think it's got the same sort of tone throughout. It's pretty serious. It's got stuff that is played scary, legitimately scary. And it also, the dialogue's very similar. Like it's the same. It almost feels like the same person could have wrote both of those movies to me.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I totally get that. I'm thinking like the opening credits, even like going to the swamp and something like, I'm watching that movie. This would totally fit with like the creature popping out of there or going through the water, I should say. But yeah, I think, and it's always, to me, it's always a little like shocking or jarring when you see like a big reptile in the snow, but like here it's not.
Yeah,
it just kind of sense, like it doesn't make sense, but like it's great. And I mean, and they do kind of explain it later on, where like it got frozen. That's how it kind of obviously went into its hibernation state and stuff. But yeah, it was. I don't know. Like I said, I wish more movies in the kaiju genre, whether they were the 50s, 60s, 70s, it doesn't matter. Like I wish they would have hit this tone as well as they did. Now, I think the obvious comparison, and we'll talk about this, is Godzilla 54. Now, I will say, I feel that the poignancy is a little bit higher, and the devastation about the causes of radioactivity and nuclear testing and stuff was done a little bit better and more of a bigger theme in Godzilla, than this. I think it was definitely a theme. Well, but I think it wasn't the only thing. I think the monster, the horror part, it was almost more horror movie with that as a theme, whereas Godzilla, the theme really carried it.
Yeah. Well, in this movie, it's almost just a plot device to wake up the monster.
Agreed. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's just like, no,
yeah.
It's barely more.
And then the radiation goes away, and I mean, we don't have to talk about why that's all important in Godzilla.
Yeah.
It's just everybody knows it is. But
100%. I think that's awesome. And the other thing is, like, even though the poignancy and the radioactivity, you see the people in the hospitals and stuff in Godzilla, and the woman with the children and all that, like, you do see people eating here. You get a death count. Which, do we get that in Godzilla into like Hedera? I mean, like you get like
I don't
180
think so.
dead or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think there's just so many good elements, and there's so much connective tissue between this and Godzilla. And, you know, Tomoki Tanaka also said that the two big influences were King Kong and Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. Yeah. In fact, what was the oh my god, isn't the original pitch
title
script? Yeah, was it like giant monster underwater 20,000?
Yeah, the title sounded the same. Yeah. The thing that makes me think, one of the most interesting things about watching this movie to me is, you watch this and the Rhedosaurus looks amazing, and I don't just mean the design of it, but I mean the stop motion is great, and it's stop motion the whole time. There's miniatures, you know, the whole ending finale is him like in the middle of the Coney Island cyclone, which is a real, which still exists, you know, and it's all done with miniatures, and it makes me wonder, like, one of the thoughts I had was, okay, this came out before Godzilla. Mm-hmm. Godzilla comes out after this movie, and the first time you see Godzilla, he's kind of a bad puppet. Yeah. And it's like, you know, I've never watched Godzilla and been like, man, that looks like shit, because it was 1954. Yeah. But when you watch this, and this came out before, and it's like, whoa, the first time you see the Rhedosaurus in this, it's like, it holds up now. I was like, so it makes me wonder what a 1954 Godzilla movie would have been like if it was stop motion. I wonder, and I know that there were times where they pitched that or they thought about doing that, and I know in the 90s they were thinking about doing some stop motion when they were going to make Godzilla. And I would never say I would rather see stop motion than suitmation, because like that's a Godzilla thing, and I love it. But I was like, boy, this Rhedosaurus looks better than Godzilla does in some scene. And I'm not saying when he's in the suit, but like when he's a puppet and he's coming over the hill, it was like, man, I wonder. It makes me wonder what a Godzilla movie would be like that. And
then who's doing the stop motion, right? It's like if you have Harryhausen doing it versus,
it would have to be Harry. Yeah, it would have to be Harryhausen. Yeah,
it's hard to say, because like we have 36 some odd movies, and not all of obviously full suitmation, but like the core, right? And it would just be totally different, right? And just like if the Rhedosaurus was done like in suitmation, and you had Angra style where they're on their knees and stuff, like it just wouldn't do it. But I'm still just shocked in 1953 how good. I mean, the Rhedosaurus has to be, to that time, the best stop motion creature ever done, like 100%, and maybe even after
100%.
It's so wonderful.
And there's also something about this specific Harryhausen design that seems, even though it seems very, when you watch any old dinosaur movie, the dinosaurs all kind of look the same and they're clearly inaccurate or whatever. But there's something about the Rhedosaurus that seems more realistic than any of his other creatures. And I'm not going to count like Valley of Gwangi, because those are just dinosaurs, but like, the Kraken or anything in any of the Sinbad films, or Ymir, they're all like, and I think it's partially has to do with the way Harryhausen likes to put that kind of jowl and beak on everything he makes. Like they all kind of look the same, but something about the Rhedosaurus and the way it moves and the way at least its face looks, it looks realistic. It looks like a natural creature and not just some fantasy beast.
I know it doesn't. It's stripped away, even though like outside of like early Triassic period, like you don't see a lot of like quadrupedal carnivores, and like you even throw that away, but like it's still like you still feel like there's some paleobiological accuracy to it. Yeah. And there's not, and I agree. I don't know. And it was supposed to have a beak. That apparently one of the
I looked it up. I saw.
Yeah. Did you see
originally?
There were that.
I did. I am too. There. I found 2 or 3 pieces of artwork, and I have a Ray Harryhausen book. It's a big, thick it's like a tome.
Yeah.
And it has artwork for everything Harryhausen ever did, including things he didn't do. Do you know that he was at one point, not to get off topic, but do you know at one point he was going to do an adaptation of War of the Worlds? And the book I have has tons of artwork he did of what his War of the Worlds was going to look like. And have you read War of the Worlds?
I have. Yeah, it's been a while. But
one of my favorite things that's in War of the Worlds that's not in any of the movie adaptations is the way the aliens look. They're big and fat. Mm-hmm. They have beaks and they have tentacles. Yeah. And his looked like that, but they all looked like the Kraken. They had the little thing. They had the jowls and they had the beak. Their heads look like the Kraken with tentacles.
Yeah.
But anyway, some of that old Rhedosaurus stuff is in that book, and
that's awesome.
They're cool looking, but they don't look as good as it ended up looking. It looks nice and natural.
And I always heard this, and I don't know if this is true. You would know more than I. It might be in that book. Weren't there talks? Like, weren't there somebody trying to talk them to do like the live reptile style? For this,
I think so.
Harryhausen on
yeah. I think that was.
Glad they didn't do that.
I think that was the kind of stuff that was still. This was right around the time where that was going away, and they were.
Thank God.
I hate that shit. I remember even as a kid, I would get annoyed. I would be like, "This is not fun to watch."
No,
it's like it's an alligator and an iguana,
and a monitor lizard. Always a monitor lizard in there.
Yeah, I always hated those fucking movies.
Yeah.
So I guess we can talk a little bit about the fact that this is sort of, but not really, based on a Ra Bradbury story, which I have not read, but I own it. I own like 2 copies of it, and it's been on my list for a long time. I've just never sat down and read it, but it's a story called The Foghorn. And I think basically what happened was they wrote their script for this movie. They had a scene in this movie where the Rhedosaurus destroys a lighthouse.
Great scene.
It is a great scene. It's very iconic. But the Foghorn is about a sea creature that is attracted to a lighthouse because the noise the lighthouse makes, he thinks it's another of its kind. And then he gets really mad when he realizes it's not, which is so sad. It's very sad.
So sad.
But I think what happened was they found the story while the script was already wrote, and they were like, "Oh, this kind of has the lighthouse thing." Then they bought the rights to the story so they could be like, based on the Ra Bradbury short, even though it's not really based on it.
It's marketing. It was a marketing move.
It was a marketing thing.
Genius. I love it.
Yeah.
Talk about instant credibility. You throw Ra Bradbury's name on there, and especially one of the stuff that just came out, right? Amazing. Like, it adds instant credibility to this film. So cool. But yeah, I mean, that's what I was like. Growing up, I always thought, okay, it's based on the Ra Bradbury. Pre-reading, Fahrenheit 451 or whatever. Like, sure, he's famous. People, that's a name I know. This movie has to be legitimate. But like, as you dig in, it's like, yeah, it was a marketing move. It's smart, shrewd marketing move, and a little bit of serendipitous luck to be able to do that. And then originally, the short story was Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, right? But then they changed it to Foghorn later on.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. The original story, I'm not sure if it was exactly the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, but it had 20,000 Fathoms in the. It was weird. It was a weird thing, but yeah, they changed it to the Foghorn and stole the title for the movie.
I love it. I think it was. It's genius.
It's awesome. Yeah. And have you ever read or are you aware of A Sound of Thunder by Ra Bradbury? Okay.
No.
So there is a movie that was made of this, but the movie is awful. And I went into a deep dive on the movie because I was just like, because the story's amazing. And I'll tell you the story here in a second. But the movie was kind of a victim of like there was like some sort of shakeup with the movie studio, and they released the movie with unfinished effects. So if you watch the movie, it looks like a fucking PlayStation 1 video game.
What year was this?
It's not that it was either late night. No, it had to be 2000s. Hold on, I think I might even have it. 2005, the movie came out.
Okay.
Now the movie goes way off of what the story is, but the story by Ra Bradbury, I think, would make an awesome movie. And what it is it's set in the future where time travel is possible, and of course, right on the money. What we would do with time travel is it's these hunters who go to this place. And they take you in the past so you can shoot a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And this hunter who thinks he's a badass, he's like talking shit. He's like talking about how great he is, how he's killed every, animal in the world. He's like, I'm gonna go fucking kill a T-Rex, So he goes to this place and they're like, look, we're going back. You only can shoot the dinosaur that we have marked. We've already gone back. We've marked the dinosaur. The reason you can only shoot this one is because it's in the past. You have to kill something that 5 minutes after our trip, that dinosaur was going to die. Right. Mm-hmm. So we were going to shoot it. And then there's a track. You can't, they're like, the track floats off the ground. Don't get off the track.
Yeah.
So they get there, they get to the past, they're on the track. It's like scary. It's in the jungle, it's like fucking prehistoric. And they're walking, and this dude who's like a badass, they hear the footsteps of the Tyrannosaur. And it scares this man so much. Like, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
When the T-Rex shows up, and it's like unfathomable, like being in front of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And this dude loses his fucking mind. And he's like, I got to go back. And he falls off the track. They shoot the T-Rex, and then they make him dig the bullets out. They're like, you fucking asshole, get the bullets out of the T-Rex. And they make him go up and like dig but then they go back and he's changed time because he stepped on a butterfly. This is where the butterfly effect comes from.
Okay.
He stepped on a butterfly, and when he gets back in the story, so at the beginning of the story, there's like posters and stuff for about like who the president is or whatever. And when he gets back, he's like looking around, and there's all this weird like propaganda, and he realizes that he's changed course, and now there's like some weird dictatorship thing happening, and the story ends. In the movie, they take that all happens in the very beginning, and the whole movie is like fighting monsters because now the world is taken over by weird, and the movie's a piece of shit, but the story is awesome, and I wish that would get made into a proper film. That's a tangent that has nothing to do with the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, but
it has to do with Ra Bradbury. Has to do with the Beast.
But read that story.
That sounds amazing. No, I absolutely will. That's so cool, man. Yeah, and it sucks that was butchered in the filmmaking process.
I own a book that's just like dinosaur tales, and it's a bunch of like Ra Bradbury. It's like everything that Ra Bradbury wrote that has to do with dinosaurs, and a couple other writers. But The Sound of Thunder in that book is illustrated by William Stout, who almost made a Godzilla movie in the early 90s. And he's going to be at Dragon Con, which I'm going to next week, and I'm going to get him to sign my copy of Sound of Thunder. And
you have some stuff from him, right? Because he's been at a couple conventions.
He goes to Dragon Con every year, and I have bought something from him every single year I've been to. I have some original art. I have an original drawing of Godzilla that he did that I got framed up, hanging up. Yeah, I try to buy something from him every year, and it's getting hard because at this point I've bought everything he's got.
You have everything.
But, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I dig. Yeah, and then like. This film is just so, like I said, it's important to film. It's important to us because, like I said, not only do we love it, but like it had stuff to do with the creation of Godzilla wouldn't be there. If somebody went back in time and shot, anybody that made this film, then we might not have Godzilla. And then would the world be happy? I don't think so.
No, I wouldn't. It's weird. The It's a quick turnaround for Godzilla to be like, Godzilla came out a year later. So like they fucking worked quick to.
Well, that's Toho. I mean, Toho's always done that.
Sure.
Sure. What's funny, so my original question I was thinking about was, when you talk about, I think everybody just assumes Godzilla's the first kaiju, right? Because it all depends on how you define kaiju, right? Because it's like,
all right, Michael Hamilton's going to yell at us about this conversation we're about to have.
No. I'm not going to rehash our episode, but we part of that episode we talk about kaiju versus daikaiju, because kaiju has no size, and it's a strange creature, right? Whereas daikaiju is big. But if we look past that, some people say, oh, well, King Kong, 1933, first kaiju, right? Kong, right? Then some people are like, well, no. Kaiju has to have Japanese origins, right? So it has to be Godzilla. But the flaw in there, even if you agree that, then it wouldn't be Godzilla. It would be the 1938 King Kong in Edo, or the 33 King Kong, what was it? Wasei Kingu Kongu, the Japanese version of Kong, those lost films. They would be technically, because they're Japanese, and if Kong's a kaiju, they're kaiju, but they're lost. They're lost. But there's footage. I mean, at least there's photographs and footage. Or here's why I'm making a claim for Beast of 20,000 Fathoms. It's not Japanese, obviously. Yeah. It's not the first giant monster, obviously, because it's 20 years after the original Kong. If you look at that, Godzilla or a host of other American kaiju that came out before 54. I mean, you have the giant behemoth would have a claim, all those, right? But Kong or Godzilla. But the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which was released about a month later than Godzilla in Japan, it was obviously released in the US a year earlier, but in Japan, it came out about a month later and obviously influenced it. It's the first film that ever uses the word kaiju. It's first. It is. It's Japanese translations like Ginshi Kaiju Awararu or something like that. I forgot. I have to look it up. But it is the first time that they use the term of strange creature, which doesn't necessarily correlate to a big monster. It could be lots of things to describe a big monster. So you could say that the term kaiju was first used to describe the Rhedosaurus versus anything else when it comes from a cinematic point of view. Not saying that's the right answer, but saying that saying that it doesn't have a claim, being the first one ever to use the term kaiju and use kaiju to describe a cinematic giant monster, which obviously kaiju's been used to describe the film genre. I don't know. I think it at least has a claim to be able to say, hey, you know what? Kong, maybe. Godzilla, maybe. I also have Rhedosaurus.
If the word was used on the Rhedosaurus, then I think that's you can't say no, right? I mean, like
it's an interesting argument,
I just think like if they used the word itself, and then especially if it might be the first use of the word, then clearly the Rhedosaurus is a kaiju, right? And it came out before Godzilla, so clearly, yes. But I do understand the argument, the Japanese side of the argument. You know what I mean? And I would say, sure, then it's Godzilla. But if the fucking word itself was used specifically about the Rhedosaurus, then you can't say no.
You know what we should do? And I think we could probably figure this out. And I didn't because I know how this conversation would go. But I wonder if in any of the materials, the buildup, the commentary, the reports for Godzilla, which obviously the word kaiju is not in the film title or anything. If any of those materials refer to a monster as a kaiju instead of the more lax use of just strange creature, right? It could be called a monster, but like a strange creature or giant beast or whatever. But like was it referred to as a kaiju in any written form describing it, in whether it's a newspaper or whatever, then I think Godzilla has a better claim and can probably jump over it. But like I haven't seen that. I don't know if it exists, but if not, then like in cinema, the first time the word kaiju is used to describe a cinematic monster or anything like that was Beast. I think the Beast, the Rhedosaurus, like I said, at least it's in the argument, Whereas a lot of people don't ever even put it in the argument. It's always Godzilla versus, I say Kong. I don't know if I don't call like the dinosaurs like Lost World and stuff, which obviously predates Kong, as kaiju.
Yeah.
You could argue that. But Kong
himself would be, I think.
Yeah.
I think Kong is got a kind of a special, it's like Kong is almost a kaiju after the fact. I don't know if I would call 1933 Kong a kaiju because kaiju isn't really developed yet. And yes, maybe Rhedosaurus and Godzilla developed and created kaiju, but Kong became a kaiju after that. And especially, I mean, Kong fights Godzilla, he's a kaiju, right?
Kaiju, 100%.
But maybe we don't call 1933 Kong a kaiju film. I don't know. That's a weird, tricky, like outlier type thing.
Yeah, it depends. It's personal opinion, personal how you describe it, and everyone has caveats. Kong, if you're okay with it not being American, or excuse me, not being Japanese, and you classify that creature whether retroactively as a kaiju, yes, maybe.
Yeah.
Godzilla, okay, it has to be Japanese, but yet it has to be film footage that wasn't lost because you got to get rid of those 33 giant monsters and 38 from those two lost Kong films.
Yeah.
Then Godzilla, Rhedosaurus, like first one with the name in the title to officially in official literature describe it as a kaiju in Japan. Rhedosaurus, Godzilla. Who knows? Like, I mean, like I said, they're all interesting claims. I still, when somebody says the word kaiju, Godzilla pops into the head for me, but I'm not saying that's right or wrong. But it's an interesting thing. And then hell, I love the fact that what's his name, Eugene Laurie, that did the director, debuted on this. He went on and made other kaiju films. He
made Gorgo.
And Gorgo, yes. So I love it. I mean, this film is just so important for so many reasons.
I think you could say maybe Rhedosaurus kicked kaiju around first, but I think Godzilla really cemented and defined kaiju. Therefore, you can give Godzilla the kind of the ultimate claim. But it's like, there are Japanese Kong movies that came later. So therefore, is it weird to be like, well, the Japanese version of Kong is a kaiju, but the American isn't? Or it's all King Kong. So if he's a kaiju over here, then he's a kaiju over here. So
that's why when I had a feeling this conversation that wouldn't this episode have been great as our part 2 from our How Do We Define Kaiju and Stay Puft back in November, December of last year.
Exactly. It's the same thing.
At the end of the day, this movie is important. And this movie is awesome. And this movie is wonderful. I'm glad we got to watch it again. I should watch it every week. It's that good.
Yeah.
And it is such a clean, wonderful movie. And then we didn't even talk about like the acting and the stuff. Like Tom Nesbitt is a likable character. Like you root for him. Like
your main characters don't sing. I mean, I do get bummed out watching all these movies where we just kill the monster in the end. And I know he was going around eating people and everything, but it's like kind of all these movies is like
our fault.
It's our fault, but then we kill them. And I know in King Kong is a sad. It's on purposefully a sad. You do feel sympathy for Kong when he dies. But all these movies, I feel sympathy for them. And it's like, but I mean, it was made in the early 50s. All these movies are just like that. I feel like some of these movies, if they were, what was it we watched? Oh, when I watched, I really like, Younger, and then also, 20 Million Miles to Earth has a good, the monster in that movie he's kind of a good guy, he doesn't really, you root for him in that film all the way through, and it made me feel really good. So
I root for Guanji too. That's a sad scene in the church with the fire.
It's very sad. It goes on for a long time. This feels a lot like that because he's kind of stuck. There's a fire going on around him. He's kind of trapped in the middle of the cyclone roller coaster, and they shoot him with the isotope.
Yes,
and the way he dies is it's very sad. He looks like an animal confused, and he's walking in circles, and he just falls over and dies. Then it just says the end.
The end. Well, it goes back to the story, like you're talking about the foghorn. I think that like they touched on it, like he's following this path, the Arctic flow or whatever down to New York. Like because that's where like where his kind was, and like I wish they would have explored what the Foghorn does and like be more blatant about he's looking for other of his kind and he doesn't find it, and I think that you're missing that. But like he's just going back to where he's home. He's just going back to his home, and it's not his fault that like there's cars and dudes shooting at him with pistols. That cop scene is hilarious. Like he just keeps on shooting him and he just grabs him. But so
I love
the movie's great.
I love the scene where there's like some scientists and they're in a submarine and they're watching like a shark, real footage of a shark fighting an octopus, which I don't love, but they're watching that, and then the Rhedosaurus shows up and he's like, "Oh, there it is," and he's like. He's like amazed with it. He's just like, "Whoa, look at this beautiful creature," and then it eats them.
Yeah,
it just eats them. I'm like, "Oh fuck!"
He's admired. So I love that because this paleontologist, he's old and he's taking vacation. And he stops because he gets to see like his dream. Like he gets to see this creature, and like to the point that he is like amazed and talking about how beautiful and wonderful and amazing it is as it's eating him. Right,
as it's eating,
which is great. I love that piece of filmmaking. What I I feel sorry for is the dude in the submarine thing with him that does not probably give a shit about them. It's like, dude, we're gonna get eaten. Pull it up. But the guy's like, okay, I don't care if you're okay getting yourself sacrificed. I'm like 25. You don't know what a dinosaur is. Like, stop it. I felt bad for that guy. But I love that touch of the paleontologist being eaten because he's just so enthralled by it and like, it's kind of a fitting end. But yeah, it just there's so much good in this movie. Like, watch it, people, watch it.
Yeah, I agree. Watch it. Please don't let. I know there's like a stigma with black and white movies, and people don't want to watch black and white stuff. But like, that's stupid. And shut up and just watch it, because this movie is one of the greats. It is. It is.
And only one
sexist
sexist comment, and there's only in the whole dialogue. There was like only one pseudo sexist comment for a '50s movie. That's amazing.
For a '50s movie, yeah.
When she's like, Mrs. Lee, whoever's at the door, his secretary, and she's like, she's very pretty, and he's like, send her in. I was like, yeah, but it was awesome.
Which is the sort of the opposite of Creature from the Black Lagoon, because I feel like there's just tons of questionable dialogue in that movie about the women. But
you're a woman paleontologist? What?
I like fighting over and shit. Yeah, dude, I love this movie. This movie is a top tier 10-star film. I love it. I'm gonna buy that X Plus.
Yeah, it's in the Kaiju movie Hall of Fame, right? I mean, like if we had to create 100%. One, it's Kong 33, Godzilla 54, Beast is like right under those two. Like, I mean, it really is.
They're kind of those important. Those three movies are the kind of like what would you call them? Those three are sort of the mold, you know, or the kind of the grandfathers of the.
They're a throuple.
Yeah. They're a throuple of the entire genre, I think. You know what I mean? I think they're really...
You can trace all of them back to it.
They are the basis. Those three films are probably... They're probably the most important kaiju films in history. They just are.
You won't get an argument out of me. You won't. I mean, as much as I wish Yamada Takeru was in there, but it's not. No, those three are. I think that's it. Like, I mean, you can trace almost every movie, the lineage back to one of those three. Yeah. And hell, you can trace Godzilla really to those two. If you believe the producer that came up with the idea of Godzilla, those were the two most inspirational. So you can even make that case. So. But for me, if I had a Hall of Fame, it's Godzilla, it's Kong, it's Beast. That's probably the three most important movies. But yeah, you got to go buy that X Plus. That Kraken needs a friend.
God, dude, you're right, man. I'm trying to pay off the Kraken first. Those payment plans are hitting hard, dude. Those Kraken payment plans, they be
the
hitting.
Rhedosaurus is easy to find. It's Guanji that's going to be. It's the
well, I'm on a wait list for Guanji on Sideshow, but I don't know exactly how that works, or if Guanji. I don't know if Guanji's been released yet. I don't know.
I don't think
specifics. I don't know if Rhedosaurus. I haven't looked since I bought the Kraken, but when I bought the Kraken, Rhedosaurus was still just widely available. I don't know if he is now, but he was available on Awesome Collector, Big Bet. You know, those sites, you could just buy it.
Yeah.
I do still think I'm gonna have to. I'm scared the Medusa might sell out, but I don't know because the Medusa is almost as much as the Kraken.
Yeah,
and I
The
think
deluxe
that's why.
version.
And I think that's why the Kraken didn't sell out immediately, is because it is an expensive piece.
Yeah.
So maybe I'm safe not picking up the Medusa right away. I don't know. Toys. I love toys, but I hate how much money they're costing me, especially as I move into X Plus and Safubi and Hot Toys. I pre-ordered that Hot Toy Obi-Wan Darth Vader figure. It's a great looking toy.
Yeah.
Let's talk one more little bit of news that maybe we didn't talk about. And I don't know if me and you even talked about this, but the Paluto figure is out. Or it's
Justin
it's up
Ishmael.
It's up for pre-order, and it's like, they worked with the original sculptor of that toy, and it never got released, and now you can get it for your Toxic Crusaders set, and I kind of want it. I mean, of course I want it. I want that because I don't own all of those, but I got a good bit of them right here, and Paluto would fit perfectly well.
And to tie it back to Beasts of 20,000 Fathoms, bear with me here. So obviously you have the Harryhausen connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so with Paluto, the sculptor and toy maker is Justin Ishmael. The
Yeah.
designer who Ish Toys does the Harryhausen Cyclops.
He does. Yep.
So you have the Harryhausen connection there. So that's how you take Paluto to Beast of 20,000 Fathoms. Thank you, Harryhausen and Justin Ishmael. But yeah, the toy looks awesome.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really cool and a really cool, unique kaiju toy. I think that's going to be one of those that ends up like 10 years from now. We're talking about weird and wacky toys that they made. I can't believe they made. I think the Paluto is going to end up on that list.
Sure.
And I think the people that have it are going to be so pumped that they bought it.
Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
Whew, Jay, we got anything else to say about this movie?
Not about this movie, but I have one thing I want to say.
Okay.
And I haven't done this in a while. And so for all of our listeners, if we have any new listeners, especially in our new beautiful YouTube channel here, YHS and Monster Island, even though we are now a separate YouTube channel, we are still firmly in the bosom of our great and nurturing mothership, the Yes Have Some Network, the YHS Network. So by all means, when you're done listening to us, and thank you for listening to us, because there's so many great kaiju shows out there. Thank you. Go check out Toy Anxiety. It's not only, it used to be the hit sensation. Now it's just dominating the toy collecting and toy, like, I don't even know what we call it, collecting, just toy discussing landscape. Every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern on YouTube. It's Jake. It's Craig Goldberg and Abigail Gardner from YHS. It's Ryan Dole, the Canadian Kingpin. And it's just so much fun. You have a lot of guests that come through from, celebrity guests and stuff. It's just such an awesome show, guys. Go check that out and become a patron of YHS, and you get an extra hour or so every week of that with a live extreme Toy Anxiety episode. And as somebody that's been a part of that and been able to watch it, it's worth the $5 a month by itself. But you guys also do a lot of other crazy stuff. And then, of course, check out the major. Yeah, I know, right? And then the podcast that, if it didn't exist, we wouldn't be here. YHS, Yes Have Some, where you guys are talking about everything in pop culture, movies, and TVs, and every little bit of everything, right?
Yeah.
I know you guys are going to be relaunching that in a little bit different of a format on YouTube, but the podcast is there. It's amazing. And if you're a patron, again, you get it early and you get it ad-free, and it's so great. And then I know there's so many other, whether they're part of the umbrella or adjacent to it, Ryan Dole and his Gotham City Tonight podcast is there. So good. If you're a Batman fan, check that out. Gotham City Night with Ryan Dole. And then I know you still have like the Ghostbusters Containment Unit and all these other great podcasts that go in and out. You guys are just growing every day, and I'm so proud that we're still part of it, even though we have our own YouTube channel now.
I think you got to stop saying you and all, like, you're a part. You are Yes Have Some now. Like, this is, we're all of it. You're a part of it now. Yeah, thank you for that. And everybody, we do a lot of stuff, and it's not all kaiju related. All the kaiju stuff stays over here, but yeah. Regular YHS, we're going to be talking about, we talk a lot about Ghostbusters whenever there's Ghostbusters to talk about, but just movies in general.
A lot of
whatever's
Star
happening.
Wars, a lot of
Star Wars
Marvel.
theme park. We talk about theme. We go to a lot of theme parks. We go to a lot of toy shows. We go to a lot of conventions, and we talk about all of it. So, it's almost October, and one of my favorite things is that every October we try to do a lot of horror movie stuff. We try to do some interviews, some special interviews. We'll re-release old interviews with horror movie people, and it's going to be a good time. So check us out. Listen to everything Jay just said.
And I'm excited what you guys do next, because you don't go too long before you expand and do something new. So I don't know, I'm waiting for the next one. I don't know what genre. Is it going to be pro wrestling? Is it going to be vintage gaming? Is it going to be board game, Dungeons and Dragons? I don't know.
Not unless you want to start a new podcast with somebody else or something. No. I think the core team is tapped out on how many episodes we can be doing. I'm sure there will be an expansion in some way, but right now we're working on that new
just go buy
YouTube
a couple.
channel.
Just go buy a couple. Good one.
Buy a podcast? Is that what you're saying?
Buy the rights. It'll be great. Just go buy them.
That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sue somebody and take down all those other toy podcasts.
Okay, gotta have strategy, goals.
Well, listen, I think that's it, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for your continuing listenership and everything that you do. We're gonna be back in 2 weeks. I guess that's it.
And Manda still sucks.
But the toy doesn't. Bye, guys.